Hey folks, well, I hope you're doing well. We're already into the month of August. How do you figure? I mean, we only have a few days of sunshine, and the sunshine is so incredibly rewarding out here. I don't think anyone appreciates sunshine more than we do. Well, perhaps up in Alaska, but if you see it for 23 hours out of the day or 22 hours out of the day, it must get a little overwhelming. Anyway, point is, it's a beautiful time here in the Northwest and something we can be thankful for. God has given us this good weather. Um, I want you to just take a moment and think about something that it's very practical. We all know this in our heart. We know this. Sometimes we forget, and certainly with everything that's going on in our nation today as we build up towards the election, uh, we can sometimes just get overwhelmed with everything that has happened or will happen or just the details and circumstance of life. But just remember this, and I think it really speaks to us from the book of Esther, and I've been studying that recently, preparing for the conference. But, this is the book of Esther is about, and also, by the way, Nehemiah, in the same boat, is about a group of people that stayed behind. They didn't go back with the 50,000 that went in during the time, the first, return. They chose not to go back under the decree of Cyrus. They stayed. They even kind of went a little further east into, the capital of Medo-Persia, and they were living there and doing well. Interesting thing about the book of Esther is that it's really kind of a intriguing circumstance. For one thing, you have a Jewish person who hides their identity, both she and Mordecai to some degree. Mordecai a little less, but certainly she did. And you have a young lady that is taken into the king's harem, but she has to go out of her way to please him in order to be the acceptable one. I understand God was involved in that process, but that was strictly forbidden. All you have to do is read the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, chapter 9, I think in chapter 10 of Nehemiah, and you'll find out that, mingling with the Gentiles was not an acceptable decision. It wasn't something that was it was frowned upon. So you have a lot of details here that are just simply kind of interesting. So these are people that, while they were Jewish in terms of their ethnicity and their national identity, they had kind of been enculturated, I guess you could say. They've been embedded in the world around them. And therefore they made decisions that were not necessarily the best decisions. There are some Jewish scholars that say that it would have been more pleasing to God had she committed suicide rather than just simply go in and be taken into a Gentile's house. Interesting comment, I don't know, but you can get a feeling as to how it was looked upon, and yet God used all this. I'm just amazed that God, in the midst of all the circumstance that we find in that book, and the people that, we can try and spiritualize them all we want, but the truth is that, for example, Mordecai had honored the king's requests in every other area of his life, but he would not honor the king's request to bow to Haman. Now, he had his reasons for that, but it was a personal kind of vendetta that he had. I think it tends to lead us back to, back in 1 Samuel chapter 13, and you have Saul, and you have, the king there that he chose not, Agag, he chose not to kill. There is a strong possibility that this was a distant relative of that king. And as a result, he had a tremendous hatred for him, but he had honored and developed his relationship with the culture in every other area, but this one. Interesting. Yet in the midst of all this, God moves. Maybe that tells us something about our life. That we have a lot of things in our life that just simply aren't necessarily kosher. Okay, that's a little facetious. But they're not really up to par. That we're not, we can honestly look at our life and be truthful. We're not satisfying all the demands that God would have upon us. We aren't exactly where we spiritually would like to be. Guess what? God can still use you. God will still use you. God has a way of using people. All he looks for is someone that has an obedient heart in the midst of a trial. When in the midst of the circumstance of our life, can I say, okay, God, it's going to be about you, not me? Can I do that? Can I put those things that are challenging in my life behind me and press on? Can I do that? That Philippians 3:14 and on. Can I do that? If you can, it's amazing. God can use the strangest people, even you and me. Wow. That's quite a thought. Till next time, friends, God bless you.